it's really hard for us in municipal shelters because we're not humane societies. So in this room, I would like to, by a show of hands, who is a muni? Nice, okay, most of you, great. Who's a humane society? Okay, perfect. And then we have rescue people over there. So, basically, here's the question. Can you be open admission and still achieve a 90% save rate? I say you can because we've been doing it since 2018, but it is not easy. It's very hard. That's just a bunch of nonsense about what I do. But anyway, let's move on. So some things we're gonna talk about. Do you do managed intake? What is the average wait period for an owner surrender? Do you have any factors presented by the owner make a difference in surrendering earlier than others? Do you make appointments for people that found a stray? How long do they have to wait to bring in a stray? Same day, 3 days? In Arizona, it's 72 hours for a stray. Unless it has a microchip or a collar, then it's 5 days. We have to hold on to it to give the owner a chance to bring it, to come in and get it. Are you finding it hard to service your community the way it should be serviced? So I'm just curious, by a show of hands, how long do you have to hold on to a stray? 3 days? 2? Wow, that's kind of not fair to owners. Yeah, that's kind of 5 days? Okay. 10? Okay. 5 days, you said. 7. Ooh. 10. That's such a long time. Is that a barrier for you guys, having to hold a kennel for 10 days before you can adopt or foster? Not great. Okay. So yeah, there's all different things, and it's weird because when I was doing this, I was kind of researching different states, and I saw a lot of states that had different time frames. Like, I think Alaska had something crazy. Is somebody from Alaska? And how long is it? 5, right?
It's 5 with identification, 3 without.
Okay. Okay. So I made this PowerPoint short because I think that this is a really good topic, and it's a really spicy topic that a lot of people don't agree with. They don't really feel that municipal shelters should be doing managed intake. We should just take all the animals in, and if they have to be euthanized, then that's the way it is, you know? And I disagree, but you know what? Everybody has opinions, and I'm not saying anybody's opinion is wrong, but I made it short so that we could truly have a discussion about it and find out why you may feel the way you do. I know this quote, and I don't know if you're gonna get mad at me if I say it, but opinions. Opinions are a medium between knowledge and ignorance. So where do you lie in your opinions, okay? So, what is the definition of managed intake? Obviously, managed intake at an animal shelter is a process for regulating or scheduling the intake of animals in a shelter, and the goal is to ensure that you have the space to bring in an animal humanely and when it's appropriate, while preventing the shelter from becoming overcrowded. But everybody, who's got an empty shelter? Yeah, exactly. You do not, we do not. We have 149 kennels and 325 dogs right now. So we have every office taken up. We've got, it's sad, but this is where we're at right now in America, right? We're all just overrun. So can an open admission shelter stay at 90% or at least go towards it? How many of you are leaning no? It cannot be done. Please raise your hand. And I'm not gonna shame you. Sorta, okay, perfect. I like you, you tell truths. And then what are the reasons? Like, why do you think this cannot be done? I'm just curious. And I have a few reasons up there. We must take in all animals. Do you? Whose laws state you must take in an owned animal because they don't want it anymore, it takes up too much of their time, and they don't have time for it? Does it say that in your laws? Excuse me? They say you have to take owner surrenders? Yes. Wow. Where are you from? Oh, Texas, okay. But I mean, is that a problem? It's a lot. It is a lot. Why do they want you to take owner surrenders? Why do they feel taxpayers should pay for somebody to get rid of their pet?
That was kind of a have-to that we had to put that in because they were getting dumped, because there wasn't anything that regulated or they didn't have to have identifiers.
Wow.
It was making more of a problem to not take them.
Anybody else have that in their laws or ordinances, that you must take an owner surrender? Yeah, but you do have to take strays, correct? Yes, you do. Oh, and we have this little box that he's going to toss to everybody if you have something to talk about, okay?
Yeah. So if you have something to say, please just put up your hand and I will bring this. You speak into it like this, not like this, like this. Okay?
So you got about 10,000 steps today?
Yeah.
Throwing that thing around? Okay.
Pop, 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 pop.
Nail anybody in the head yet? No? Okay. Day's not over. So we're government, and it's what the taxpayers want. The taxpayers do not want to pay for somebody else's pet unless it's being helped, of course. At least that's what I think. And our taxpayers have vocalized that as well. We're not allowed to say no or be picky about the animals coming in. Humane Society turns them away, so they come to us. That's a big thing. Who were those humanes? They were over here? Okay, yeah. Where was that? You are open admission, okay. So if you guys are not aware, there's a difference between humane societies and municipal shelters. Municipal shelters are funded by taxpayers. Our operations are funded through revenues that we make during licensing, adoptions, impounds, stuff like that. Humane societies are privately funded. They have donations, and really they don't have to, unless you have open admission, they don't have to take in the pit bulls, the huskies, the German shepherds, the Rottweilers. They don't have to if they don't want to. So then they come to us. So that is a problem sometimes. We must serve our community. We're animal control, and that's what we do. What is the first thing that you are tasked to do when you get into animal control? Somebody? Serve the public. That's what we do. We're public servants, right? Right? Yes, absolutely. Do you ever feel your agency is using managed intake the way it was meant to be? Or are they just kind of making managed intake an excuse to shoo people away because you don't want to have to deal with it, and you don't want to have to find a kennel because, you know, our last kennel was just filled by an officer that brought in a stray. And I thought this cartoon was funny because it's like, I'm sorry, we do not accept walk-ins, okay, walk-in patients. And are you punishing people for surrendering a pet because you don't agree with their reasoning? I mean, are you punishing them and saying, you know what? We have a 6-month waiting list, so sorry, we don't do same day. Is that serving your public? No. That person has no idea. They just know they cannot keep this pet anymore. Are you mad because this is the 7th call and of a person that found a stray, cannot keep it, and you just filled up your last kennel, so you're taking it out on that person? I'm going to be completely honest with everybody. We created little monsters in my shelter. We did. And I'm looking at my team right here because they're smiling. They know exactly what I'm about to say. We created little monsters. We gave them a little bit of power, and they just ran with it. But they ran with it in the wrong way. And I'm going to give you an example. Justin, come here. He's not speaking, I promise. He's just going to say a couple of things. So I'm going to be the citizen. Get up here. I'm going to be the citizen, and he's going to be one of his team, because his team is the ones I'm talking about. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Hello, sir. I have to surrender my pet. My father passed away. I need to surrender my pet, and I just can't keep it. It was his dog, and I just can't keep it. I don't have the bandwidth, so I need to surrender today.
Well, you'll have to get on the waiting list.
What waiting list?
There's a waiting list that's online, so you'll have to go home and...
I don't know anything about online. Can you help me with that? I don't know what to do.
Well, here's a card.
A card? What do I do with a card?
You go home, and then you fill out the waiting list information.
And then will I get to bring in my dog tomorrow if I do that?
We'll see how it goes on the waiting list.
Well, how long am I going to be waiting?
Between 3 to 6 months.
I can't wait that long.
I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, Justin. Give him a hand. That conversation happens all the time, all the time. What are some things that they missed? What could have been asked? What could he have told me that would have made me feel a little bit better? Anybody? Yes, rehoming resources. What else? What was that? Explaining the why. He just said, here's a card. Go fill this out. Go online, and we'll get back to you. I'm sorry, that is not service. That's not customer service. So one of the questions that I think should have been asked was, well, what kind of dogs are they? Are they pit bulls or are they chihuahuas? Depends. At our shelter, when we bring in a small dog, they're gone within 24 hours, right? If it's a pit bull, it's probably gonna have to take a little time before we could free up a kennel, but they didn't ask any questions, right? No questions. No way, no options. What does this person have? They have a card. Let's just grab the card. We have home to home. Do you guys have home to home? I call it like Craigslist for rehoming, but without, Craigslist. So basically, you go on there, you post your pet, you tell people about them, and people can go on there and they could take a pet without having to come to the shelter or something. And we do promote, we ask that they post to home as a requirement, and we'll send them an appointment. But you have to have some options for them. Now this poor person, and honestly, I'm talking about a person that just came in like about 3 weeks ago, and his father did die, and he did have 2 small dogs, but they didn't ask any questions. They just shoot him away. Do you guys have that in your shelter? Be honest. Yes? That's ridiculous. That is not customer service. And I'm embarrassed to say that we do have that. So, yeah. Those people, like I said, gave them a little bit of power in making appointments, and they kind of ran with it in the wrong way. So our intake protocols. Now, I'm going to have a QR code at the end, because this is actually kind of long, and I do have some up here that are in paper form, and I broke it into 3. So we're going to talk about our protocols and non-urgent owner surrenders. Let's say, what's a non-emergent owner surrender? Go ahead. I'm moving in 6 months. Or I'm moving tomorrow. We have that all the time. I'm moving to Michigan tomorrow. Really? Did you just find out? Yeah. What else? Barks too much. What else? What was that? Not enough time for the animal. My son is 12 years old, and I've had this dog for 7 years, but now he's allergic, and he can't be around the dog, right? Yes. Oh my gosh, we get that all the time. My friend moved out and left the dog. So these are our protocols for non-urgent owner surrenders. And this was put together by my deputy director, and it's a really good chart of what to do and how to do it. If they're moving and they can't take the pet, you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna say, okay, well, go ahead, fill out home to home, we're gonna get you an appointment. It might be, when are you moving? It'll probably be right before you're gonna move. They were abandoned by a family member because they were left behind when the roommate, now they have taken ownership. I'm not gonna read all these because it's a lot, but suggest different ideas to them that would work for them. Not everybody is savvy with animals. Not everybody knows how to crate and move animals around and crate and, do that stuff. So you just don't know. This is middle of the scale urgency. So the wait time would be 14 to 28 days. There's a household conflict between the dogs. Suggest that they, try to give the dogs separate time outside or inside, or, try to see what you could help them with. Do they need food? Do they need crates? Do they need something? Ask what their needs could be, but always assure them that we will take care of you. We will, I promise. It might not be today or tomorrow, but we are going to take care of you. This is the urgent placement protocols. Here's the criteria. There was a death of an owner and no next of kin. How many of you have that happen quite often? Oh my gosh, that much, wow. Yeah, we get it a lot. I am from Arizona, and we have what we call snowbirds, or winter visitors, and they drop dead all the time. I mean, it just happens. And Arizona, though it's nice 70-degree weather, sometimes they're hiking or they're doing something and they pass, and they have a dog. And it's usually a little Chihuahua or a little Shih Tzu or Maltese, but every once in a while we get the 30 cats or something like that, and we're not going to make that poor animal wait. So, of course, we're going to bring it in. Also, eviction by a landlord. In Arizona, pets are property, and if somebody is evicted, the owner can absolutely sign over that animal to us after we have proof that they've been evicted if they left the pet behind. We can't tell them no, which we used to do. We used to say, nope, got to wait 30 days. And they'd say, well, then I'm going to open my door and let the dog go. Well, then we're going to cite you for at large. They're not my dogs. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Is this servicing the public? No. He doesn't want to deal with anything. This person left their 2 pit bulls. I don't want to deal with them. I'm afraid of dogs. You need to take them. Well, we will. We definitely will. There's inter-household aggression between the pets, or it's dangerous to a child. Let's say it snarls at a child. Are we going to make them wait to bring in that pet? Are we going to wait until that animal is bitten before we bring it in? No, absolutely not. But we are going to ask questions, and you do need to ask questions. How many of you charge for owner surrenders? And how much do you charge? How much? 100? 25, 25, 60. 10? How much? 10? And $2. Where are you from? Yeah, you need to raise your fees a little bit. And I'm not saying that to be punitive. I'm saying it because you have to pay for vaccines now for that pet. And that's a heck of a lot more than 10 bucks. So you also have to think about the animal and what it needs. I mean, if the animal is already altered, great. That's one less thing we have to do. But we vaccinate, we microchip. And why do we microchip on intake, even if it's a stray? Is because now we know that if the owner comes to get that animal, it's registered to that person. And it doesn't have to come to the shelter. It could go automatically back to him. It's part of our policy, and we do not charge them for it. And honestly, I think in the whole time we've been doing it, we had maybe one person that was I thought so, was mad because he had a bunch of Mallies and he didn't want them to be like tracked back to him, so, but it's okay. He dealt with it. But these are, if you can't provide medical, what kind of medical is it, But the most you want to do is make sure that the household is safe, right? It's safe to the children, to the other pets. It's a safe place that the animal can wait while you're trying to free up space. And it feels like we're on a hamster wheel, right? We're just constantly running. The second we get an empty kennel, there's 5 more dogs that just came in, and it's just like that all the time. And it gets really old, but that is where we're at. So we have to change policies. We have to raise prices a little bit. We charge $100. We used to charge $65 and $20 for every animal after that. Now we charge $100 because back before we started managed intake, people would come in, have like 5 or 6 dogs, and they would just say, I can't take care of any of these anymore. And we would bring them in, and we would charge them $65 for the first, and then $20 for all of them after that. Then we would get people that would come in and say, I need to get rid of my animal right now, and I don't care how much it costs. So if we said $500, you're going to pay it. If that's what it's going to take, I just can't have this animal anymore. So we charge $100 per animal. And it doesn't matter if it's a dog or a cat. And people pay it. And if they can't pay it, we still take the animal. We don't make them, It is not a must. So those are some of the, any questions so far? No? Okay. This is a flow chart that makes it easier to make decisions for the team when somebody calls them and says, I have to surrender my aggressive dog. So let's look at some of the things on here. So as you can see, we have the flow chart. It says, I need to surrender my pet because it's aggressive. Let's go down to this one. Has your pet bitten a person and broken skin in the last 10 days? Yes. Then we need to write up a call, send an officer to do a bite report. If they have a rabies, we could do a home quarantine. If they don't want the animal in their house, they can surrender it to us. We prefer that they don't surrender their pet until after the 10-day quarantine. And why do you think that is? Because they're going to change their mind. Sometimes they change their mind and they say, you know what, I thought about it and it really wasn't his fault. My kid was riding him like a donkey and he got upset and my kid bucked my kid off and bit him. So we would write up a call and we would end up giving them the animal back. Now, when they do decide they want their animal back, we do make them adopt it back so that we could fix it, and then they go home with an altered animal. We only charge whatever the adoption fee, and it's never ever over $25. So it's not like we're getting rich on that. We just want the dog to go home, altered, and with a microchip and all of its vaccines. We just don't want it. So the middle one, I need to surrender my pet because it's aggressive. No, but the pet has attempted to bite a person, didn't break skin. Use the urgency ladder. Would this be a middle of the road urgency ladder? Would this be, you're gonna wait 6 weeks? Would this be urgent? What do you think? Exactly, ask questions. Does it need to be urgent? So ask questions, always ask questions. This one, I need to surrender my pet because it's aggressive. Has it, attempted to bite anyone? No, but it goes after my livestock or other cats or other dogs. Okay, that's kind of middle of the road. What happened? Do they resource guard? Do you feed them together and then they get in a scuffle because one, eats all of his food quicker than the other one? Ask questions and use this stuff how you can. So these are reckless examples of managed intake. And again, these are absolutely examples of my shelter that have done this. And again, I'm embarrassed. I'm standing up here telling you guys, managed intake is great. Yet my staff is shooing everybody away because they want to be, mean. Can you believe this person wants to surrender their pet because it growled at their child? Let's make them wait. But no, it's important that you take care of your community because ultimately they will go to your board and they will complain that you're not helping them. And anybody that's had people go to the board, you know what I'm talking about. So a woman finds her dog in a neighborhood and agrees to hold on to the dog until a kennel is available. A week later, the woman calls to bring the dog in and is told the dog is hers because she has been feeding it for longer than 6 days, which in Arizona, if you have an animal, a stray that you found, and it's 6 days, after 6 days, you are technically the owner. And boy, does that make a lot of people mad. A lot of people mad. And I'm gonna tell you a little story afterwards about this, but so now we're saying, well, it's your animal. You kept it for longer than 6 days, even though she found it and agreed to keep it, okay? So we had an open kennel, and now we're gonna make her get on the owner surrender list. So I live in Arizona, I'm in Pinal County, but I do live in Maricopa County. And in Maricopa County, years ago, and Dana and Lindsay are gonna know this, but they had this director that thought that it would be a good idea to ask people graciously, could you hold on to the pet? Hold on to it for a couple of weeks. And then when they tried to turn that pet in, they would go, oh, you kept it longer than 6 days. You need to go. Get on the owner surrender list. Sorry. They had to come up with a law to stop that because that's what they were doing. That's how bad it got. I mean, that's bad. You tell somebody to hold on to it, they hold on to it, and you punish them for it. That is not managed intake. That is mean and abusive, honestly. So, the second example, family found a dog, cannot keep it. You set them up an appointment for 8 days out, even though they have repeatedly said they cannot keep it. This is your soonest time slot. During that time, the dog bites one of the kids. Now it's a bite dog and may very well be euthanized because you asked them to hold a dog that they did not feel comfortable holding on to. How many of you get that? I found a pit bull, it's aggressive. Or I found a Rottweiler, it's aggressive. Define aggressive. What does it do to be aggressive, you know? I mean, how many dogs in the kennel have barrier reactions and you're like, that dog is mean. But then you open up the kennel, and I know you're laughing at me, but you open up the kennel and it's nice. Wagging its tail, wants to go for a walk, right? So define aggressive. What did it do? But you just put that family in danger because they repeatedly told you, we cannot hold on to this dog. That is not public service, and that is misusing managed intake. Do you agree? Absolutely. These are wise examples. A dog owner calls your agency and says they got a dog on Craigslist and the dog has suddenly become aggressive towards her husband. They have had it for 1 month. Don't know why the dog doesn't like the husband, don't know what the dog did to it while the wife was gone, but apparently this dog is trying to bite her husband. Do we tell her to wait? No, we tell her to bring the dog in because we don't want it to get to the point where it's going to be a bite dog. And now we have to have a conversation. So help her out. And definitely educate her about Craigslist and how you do not go on Craigslist to buy dogs, you know, or take dogs. Then you have a dog that's a large Cane Corso and she's afraid that it might hurt someone. We have 0 open kennels, especially large ones for Cane Corsos or King Corsos, whatever you want to call them. And you ask more questions and you find out that the woman can hold on to the dog for 1 more day, and you manage to pair some dogs at the shelter and make room for the dog, and then she brings it in, she's extremely happy, and she leaves you a large donation. So we could all dream, right? But these are examples of actually taking care of it, taking care of people in your community that really, truly need help. Using managed intake as a barrier, which is what I kind of talked about with Justin. It could be used as a barrier for those shelters that want to use it as a tool for their 90%. This is how we get to 90%. And I'm going to tell you something I feel, and if you guys feel the same way, tell me if you feel differently. This is why we're here. We're going to have a conversation. If you're using barriers to intake because you want to pad your numbers or you want to keep that 90%, you need to really, really revamp your way of thinking in your shelter. It should never be about your numbers, ever, ever be about your numbers. You just want to have your 90% live release rate. How many of you hear that? Oh, you just don't want to help me because you want to keep your shelter at 90%. That is absolutely not true. Absolutely not true. Serving the community, keeping in line with your values and interpreting the laws in your state, it'll increase life-saving, and it should be the only reason that you're using managed intake protocols. Any other way of using it is unethical, and you should not be doing it. Now, I know there's a lot of people that don't agree with best friends on their managed intake protocol, and I went on their website and I read their managed intake protocols, and it was like 25 pages, and I'm sorry, but I only have 50 minutes to do my presentation, but it's a lot. But if you think that best friends want you to leave a dangerous animal on the street because you need to be at 90%, you're sadly mistaken. They don't preach that. They don't preach unsafety, they preach safety. That's what it is, it's safety. Don't use that as an excuse. Oh, well, if we team up with them, they're gonna make us just leave dogs on the street. That is absolutely not true. Usually, when you see a stray dog running down the street, where does it go? Home, exactly, it goes home, okay? It's usually gonna go home, just chase it home, you know? Dog out in the desert, that's a different story, you know? I mean, you're gonna go pick up a dog in the desert, somebody obviously dumped it, so you're gonna take it back to your shelter. And you know, my officers, I do get a little irritated when they bring me 5 and 6 dogs a day. I'm like, really? Really? You couldn't find where they go? You couldn't like attempt to make some, you know, return to home? But that's just me. They know how I am. So I do kind of tend to get upset, but they have to do their job. I was an ACO too, so I know how it is. But you have to get out of your own way. What is scaring you about managed intake? Do you think you can't do it? Do you think that your board or your city or county managers is going to be against it? Managed intake saves lives. It really does. We have gone from taking in about 9,000 animals a year back in 2011 when I started as an ACO to taking, what did we take this year, about 3,500, 4,000 maybe? And that's dogs and cats. I think we took in 2,300 dogs and about 1,000 cats, but most of those cats were, you know, TNR, and they went back out. And that's because we have programs to stop the flow of animals coming in. Help your community. Help them with dog food, crates, you know, help them. But I mean, how else can you help them, you know? We have people that they have nowhere to go, they have nothing, they can't support their pets. If any of you have all heard of Chewy, right? Do you know that Chewy delivers trucks to shelters with lots of supplies that you then give your community? Did you know that? We got a Chewy truck about a month ago. You're on a waiting list, so don't think you're gonna get it tomorrow, but you are on a waiting list, and their only requirement is that you feed your community. And you don't know what you're gonna get. It's all a mixed bag. It's a surprise, but you could get, you know, we got something like 24 pallets, and most of it was dog, cat food, and cat litter. But then you get treats, and you get crates, and you get dog beds, just whatever. But we give it to our community, and they're very appreciative. Because if you take care of your community, they will support you. Because God knows we need support, you know. This is the QR codes for each of those, the intake, managed intake protocol, and the aggressive pet surrender flow chart. So I love making friends of people that hate our guts. I love making friends with those people. It's fun. Why do you hate us so much? Well, because you didn't medically take care of this one dog. Well, we don't have a full-time vet. We can't. That's not something we could do. Well, you just let it suffer. No, in fact, we didn't. We took it to a vet, and we paid $1,000 for this dog to get proper medical, but, you know, we put out a plea, and nobody came for it, and unfortunately, it passed away. Is that why you hate us? How could we do better? Talk to your community. Talk to your team. There are people out there that want to help. They can't take a dog, they can't take a cat, but they want to help you. We ask for dog food because we're running out. Next thing you know, we've got Amazon and FedEx trucks just showing up with dog food. If you take care of your community, they will take care of you. Now, where does euthanasia go in this whole entire thing? People take no-kill literally. They say, I thought you were a no-kill shelter. We are a no-kill shelter. And honestly, I get tired of explaining what it means. It's just like repetitive. But they don't know that. They don't understand. We do put out deadlines. We put out deadlines on dogs that are going insane in our kennels. And we try to keep it to about 5. But we don't just put it out to our rescue partners. No. We put it on Facebook, show it on Facebook. And everybody's all, you know, you put it on Facebook? Absolutely. We are transparent. You have to be. You need help. How is anybody going to know what kind of a state you're in and how to help you if you don't ask? So yes, do we get haters and be called murderers and et cetera, et cetera? Of course. What do you want from us, you know? Yeah, what do you want? I mean, yeah, we get the haters. but we also get people that come in and they help us. And sometimes, well, pretty much every time, people have come in and they've taken those dogs. They've taken the dogs that are on the list. Tell me about Shadow. Okay, Shadow's a German Shepherd about this big. He's all black. And he really doesn't care for other animals. And he's a big dog, and he's going to hurt somebody, and he's going crazy in the kennel. So we put him on a deadline. This was last week. Put him on a deadline, and we worry. We're like, oh, God, we don't want to have to do that. We don't want to have to euthanize a pet. We really, really, truly need help. And somebody came in and took Shadow, and he's doing great. Ask for help, because you would be amazed at what your community will do for you as long as you hold up your oath of public service and helping them out. And you absolutely can be a no-kill facility, absolutely, and be managed intake. I mean, just try to slow the flow a little bit, and you'll reap the benefits. But I'm going to put that back to that in case anybody didn't get a chance. But I really wanted to have a conversation. That's why I made it kind of quick. Anybody have any questions? Anybody want to debate me? I love that. Okay, bring it.
First off, no, I don't hate you. I work for a humane society in Sioux Falls, and we are the biggest in the area, surrounded by many, many small rural towns with zero regulations, laws, amounts of any animals they can have. Up until this last year, we were open admission, and it was absolute chaos where we would get all of the litters of the 15 puppies at one time, and we couldn't turn them away, and so it became overflowing. So we've been starting to implement more and more this past year with managed intakes and scheduling them out. We still are getting some case-by-case surrenders, but our biggest issue has been we have our after-hours night receiving area has been a big topic for like a year. I don't know if anybody else has a sort of thing, but it's just after hours. They can come by if they find a dog, surrender or stray, and that's the big thing too, because we want to eliminate surrenders. But people will still come in and surrender their animals on a stray form. They'll fill out the forms, and
Are you saying you have stray pens that are for overnight?
Yeah.
Take them down.
So
Take them down.
like after hours. But see, the issue with that is we've walked in multiple times if we've tried that to dead animals and carriers in the cold. I mean, people will just leave them. They don't go find anything else. Our shelter's out in the country, and so it's been hard when we try to, and when Best Friends has been out to help us and say, you need to shut this down, and then we say, okay, we can try, but then we have a litter of dead kittens left in our front entryway because our night receiving wasn't open and there is no other place for them. And that's horrible. We used to have stray pens as well. I'm sorry, I keep hitting my microphone. We used to have stray pens as well. When I first took over as director, I was an ACO for 4 years and a field training officer, and then I stepped in as director, and then they left me there. So I've been in there for a while now. But we did used to have stray pens, and same thing. We would come in, and people didn't care. They would throw a German Shepherd in there, and then they would throw cats. German Shepherd killed cats. You'd come in, there'd be dead cats and a German Shepherd covered in blood. There would be parvo, distemper, disease. It was not good. Take them down. If you take them down and they show up with a dead litter of kittens, that's not your fault. That's their fault. Owners also need to be held accountable. That is a part of managed intake. They cannot just dump their trash on you and say, here, you fix it. How many of you get feral dogs that don't walk on leash? And now you're like, they're not socialized. You don't know anything about them. And you're like, oh great, now I have to try to teach this dog how to, walk on a leash and, be okay around people touching it. That is them, that's their thing. What was that?
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
So your stray pen, and what's really important when you shut down your stray pens is having extremely clear messaging and getting your after-hours police department on board with you for those true emergencies. It takes meetings, it takes effort, it takes time, but having, we do a podcast episode, we try to do them relatively anytime something big comes up. So when people go, yeah, we thought you guys were no-kill, we just link the podcast episode and be like, take 20 minutes and listen to this, because it's going to tell you the whole answer. But your community you have to get the messaging out to them. These stray pens are a disease-filled nightmare where animals are getting dumped in mass and killing each other in the pen. They're not a sustainable solution. And here's what we're gonna do instead. Give them a plan and get your PD, if you can, your PD, your sheriff, somebody on board. Get your community on board if there's volunteers willing to house them. Something for messaging, because yeah, coming into dead animals is not an option, but leaving them open.
Our animal control is not a part of our humane society. Animal control is part of the Sioux Falls Police Department, and our humane officers are the ones who take care of the surrounding jurisdictions. So that's what makes it so difficult if, say, a Sioux Falls police officer brings in an animal versus someone in the country bringing out an animal. There's, I mean, all different, you know, one person can get a citation, the other person can't.
Have you guys tried to have meetings with your police department about that?
Not the police department themselves doesn't care, hasn't really touched anything. We've had the animal control works close with us. I mean, their building is next to ours and we house them and take care of their animals. But we just can't, you know, do anything until they're released to us. But, yeah, that's just been kind of like the biggest issue is that regardless of how we've tried to get the public to know to stop bringing these here because we can't take this and these are our policies, they're still going to end up in a player running around.
Right.
In some room around our shelter somewhere. So.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you a quick story about something that happened to us. This was only a few weeks ago, maybe a month. And there was a woman that came in to our shelter at 9 in the morning. We open at 10. One of my admin specialists who doesn't do dog intake went up there, and the lady had this giant Great Pyrenees, and she said, I need to surrender this dog right now. And she said, okay, nobody's here. I mean, I know I'm here, but we open at 10, come back, have a conversation. And the woman didn't want to, argued back and forth, back and forth. So what does she do? She goes outside, throws the dog inside of her car, drives around the corner, kicks the dog out of the car, and she's seen driving down the street with the dog chasing after her, and it got put on video. Yeah, we kind of blasted her all over social media, and we got so much response in favor of this woman. They even did news broadcasts on it because we were upset that rather than just sit down for a few minutes and wait so that we could have a conversation, you decided to just dump your dog on the side of the road. Could have been hit by a car. It could, you know, what are you doing? We found out who she was. Dog had a microchip. Stupid, but we found out who she was. We went to her house. She knew we were coming. She saw the news. And her comment was, well, he bit my son. Did you tell us that? No. You just said, I need to surrender this dog right now. You didn't say you bit your son. You didn't say you can no longer care for him. You didn't say anything. You gave us no choice, right? We didn't cite her. I mean, she kind of probably already got a lot of hate, but you have to have a conversation with your humane officers and your police department and say, look, I respect what you do. You have to respect what we do, you know? And I know it's hard. A lot of police departments, they don't care, but a lot of them do. And all it takes sometimes is a conversation, and I'm sorry that you're going through that. Anybody else have something? Because I saw somebody's hand up over here somewhere. Oh, yeah. We have 6 minutes. We got plenty of time.
Thank you. I want to talk about cats for a minute. We've talked a
Sure.
lot about dogs because I'm a cat organization.
I can see that.
So, yay, go feral cats. So I love best friends and their philosophies and everything, but where I hear it a lot from, we are a private organization, work very closely with a lot of the municipal organizations in our area. So what I hear a lot is that, well, Best Friends has said that the best thing is to put cats back where you found them. Well, okay, so I do not want, my favorite saying is, I don't want your damn cat in my shelter. How do we keep it from being here? So I am all for, and that's we do every day, a solution to keep a cat out of our shelter or another shelter. But what municipal organizations, at least in our area, we're in Northern California, are doing is saying, well, best practices says that we should not bring the cats in. Well, that part is true. So just put them back where you found them. These are kittens that are not fixed. They are unaltered adults. They are cats that maybe they totally may have come out of a home. They're injured. Well, if they're injured, they will take them in. But they are just using the best friends philosophy, which as I said, I 100% believe in, as an excuse to not present solutions to the people and just having them put the cats back out.
So you're saying that people are finding cats and kittens, and instead of taking them to the shelter, they're just leaving them alone?
No, they're taking them to the shelter, and the shelter is saying, putting them back where you found them.
Yeah,
Leave them
that's
out there.
definitely, I don't think Best Friends is saying put them
No,
back
they're
out.
not. This is the
Without being
messaging
altered.
that we need to get out there, is that is not, and I think that what's happening is they want their 90% no kill on cats. So they're taking in, 792 cats a year and saying, oh, and we only, our cat save rate is 92%. Great, aren't we good? But there's 4,000 cats out in colonies that are unfixed and kittens, and they are turning the public away from them by saying, sorry, just put them back, where the public wants to help. They want to be part of the solution. But they are conditioning the public to put these animals, not even bother to, I don't care, I can't look, I can't take them to the shelter. They said, just put them back.
So they don't even get altered, they just say,
No.
we can't take them in, you need to take them back.
No, it's not like we'll alter them and put them back, it's just put them back.
So to me, cats, and the reason why I didn't really speak about cats is because to me, cats are easy. We have TNR programs, and I think that the easiest way to get the feral cat population down is to get them altered, because on any given day, the most cats we have in our shelter is like 4. We don't, kitten season's rolling up pretty soon, that'll be different, but we always take in cats, and they go out the very next day. We try to have them come in, we don't say no, we keep them, because cats are free roaming in Arizona, and we can put them back out there. Now, if it's a person's cat, and they're friendly and they're used to being a pet, obviously we're going to take them in. Are they not even taking in friendlies? No. Yeah.
They're using that as, you want to have the.
I can hear you.
I can talk loud. They're using it as an excuse to not take them in. I have a case recently where a lady died. The people who owned the house came, put the cats outside, shut the door. The neighbors saw this, they knew the lady died, they saw her cats, and they started feeding the cats on their back porch. There was two tame cats. They then called animal services and said, I've got these 2 cats here. They really want to be inside. They were indoor-only cats. And the animal services said, and I actually have the voicemail of the animal services officer that said, these cats, how long you've been feeding the cats? And people told her it's been like 45 days. Will you own them? They're no longer, they're your responsibility because it's 30 days. And you can just put them, if you don't want to feed them, I understand that, just don't stop feeding them. They'll find rats to eat.
So that conversation could have gone a lot different, and.
So that's what we do on our end.
Right.
But then what is happening is
Thank you.
going,
So much.
it's frustrating because the animal services agencies are saying this.
Right, and that's a terrible way to handle it. They basically should say, okay, you've been feeding the cats. How about if we take them, get them altered, either offer to do it or ask her if she could possibly put in some money to get them fixed and then send them back out. Because, so you're right, that's why some of those that are using it as a barrier because they want to keep their 90%, that's definitely not, that's not the way to do it. And that's not what myself or Best Friends or anybody is about. So where do you live? I was born and raised in Northern California in Hayward, the Bay Area. Okay, yeah. I mean, putting cats back, right.
Because we have a help desk, you can call us from all over Northern California.
Right.
In Central California, and they're saying, this is what we're
Right,
They're calling us because they're, you know, they're looking for solutions. So we give them resources. That's
right. And that's good. They need you. Yeah. Yeah. I'm being told to stop. It's all bzzz. And so thank you guys. I really hope that I at least help you do one thing to help your community. That would be like so wonderful for me, but thank you very much.